Hello, and welcome back to Cinema Scrutiny. I have returned after my short break, but I think John did a good job last week with the topic at hand, with the Star Trek talk and whatnot.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was fun to put together. Um, but we're back again this week. We have a little bit of different content. I know we've had a lot of superhero topics recently, but it was nice to switch it up last week with Star Trek, and since we talked Star Trek last week, now we have Star Wars this week,
Mhm.
which is always fun, you know, um, something we both know a little bit about. Um, but I wanted to get into the idea of, what is the right path for the future of Star Wars content going forward. Um, and I think this is like a pretty highly talked about topic, as like within the community at least.
Yeah, everyone's got an opinion on it.
Yeah, it's especially after the last 5 years of what's been going on.
Mhm.
I think people are ready to switch it up and move in a different direction, but it seems it hasn't really been totally found yet. Um, so I thought we could lay out some ideas here of what we would like to see, where it could go.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess just obviously right now we have the Mandalorian has been super popular. It's like one of the biggest just TV shows in general talked about right now in the
Yeah.
past year, I'd say. And I think Disney's probably looking at that and thinking, this is a good outlet for us. Disney Plus and just TV shows in general, miniseries. And they have a lot of those announced coming up, after the success of The Mandalorian. So,
Yeah, we talked about it on the podcast a while back. I believe there are 10 unique Star Wars shows that were announced.
right. Yeah, it was during the Disney Investor Day.
Mhm.
And I think this is a good thing. Um, as much as I love the movies and I want to see the longer form, big cinematic content, I think it's nice to switch it up and give Star Wars a new outlet as far as just longer form content. You know,
Yeah, I happen to agree with that. I think that a lot of the best Star Wars content probably in the last 10 years has been more TV based. The Clone Wars obviously being like the biggest thing to really just absolutely knock it out of the park since Revenge of the Sith.
right?
And like I agree, the Mandalorian has been really well done, and it's probably the best thing that they've done since the Disney acquisition.
Hmm.
But I mean, I don't know. I like Star Wars as a film series. I think more that I like it as television, or at least it's more. It's like if it's better, I think, for the big screen. Like even
Right.
Mandalorian, you can tell is taking very much like a cue from the larger screen, and it's kind of doing just an unedited version of one of the movies.
Yeah.
Whereas, like for instance, Star Trek, it's like very much it utilizes and leverages the episodic nature of the show to its advantage, and that's why the movies always end up sucking.
Sure.
Despite some of them, but some people would argue that Star Wars, I think, needs more episodic content. But for me, I definitely want to see Disney go back in the movie direction, which I believe they stopped for a long time, obviously, because episodes 8 and 9 really did not do what they wanted to do at all.
Yeah.
And they just kind of like they dismantled the Obi-Wan movie, the Boba Fett movie, which we're seeing now as television shows coming back up.
Correct.
But they do have something back on the slate for, I believe, 2023 with Taika Waititi set to direct and write, I think. But we
Right.
don't know anything about it. So, like, the future there is really wide open. And I really don't know where they're going to take it. Because, for the last 50 years or however long it's been since the first movie came out, like 40 years,
Right.
there's been the Skywalker saga. And, like, we just finished it 2 years ago with 9. And, even though obviously in 1984 or 1983, uh, the Return of the Jedi, they knew it was done. They're like, okay, we did it. But then George Lucas was like, "Nah, we're gonna do it again." And then in the '90s and the early 2000s, we did another trilogy, and then everyone's like, "Okay, now that's it." And then they did another one, obviously, and now there's nine. But I genuinely believe that we are officially done with the Skywalker thing.
Yeah,
I think these movies killed it. Like they they murdered any chance of it continuing. But
it's fair.
also, if we're gonna be honest, like uh, because of the nature of like the prequels happening later, like the actors are old. Obviously, Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill are pretty old, and Carrie Fisher died during production of nine
Right.
or production of eight, or right after eight, maybe. And then you can't really use Obi-Wan in them anymore because they don't really fit into that timeline going forward.
Sure.
So I don't know. I mean, personally, I would like to see it get as far away from this stuff as possible as this, like from the Skywalker saga. I
Hmm.
could see they're probably, if I was the Disney exec, and I kind of don't want to do this, but if I was the Disney exec, I'd be looking at Rogue One. I'd be like, people like that did well. And then I'd be looking at The Mandalorian and realizing that it has the same kind of vibe. And you could just make a Mandalorian movie and be like, it references the show, it's the characters, but it's on the big screen, it's got the budget.
Right.
And I don't know. I feel like they would totally do that. But like John Favreau and Dave Filoni are going to be fighting it every step of the way.
Sure. 100%. I think The Mandalorian is still kind of in a weird limbo position. I mean, we
Mm.
haven't really heard anything as far as season three developments. Um, and season two kind of ended on, you know, if they really wanted to, they could say the series is done.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree. It's a great
I
point
feel
to end
like
it.
which is kind of crazy considering it's only two seasons and it's so popular with the way it is. Um, but I can't really tell, you know, how far they want to expand it because it seems like the other shows they announced it's like an expansion of that
Hmm.
timeline and that like point in the timeline. Um, but I don't know. I hear more and more recently from Star Wars fans about they're kind of burnt out a little bit. Um, and I guess the series, like the property, has benefited from long breaks between trilogies and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, I think because every time a trilogy comes back, it gets super hyped, and the mistakes of the past seem to be forgotten in a way.
Sure.
People for the most part leave them behind with good optimism for what's coming.
Hmm.
Um, but I agree with you. I like the movie content more. I think it just fits this style more. But I don't know. I recently it's interesting. I think we both picked up the newer books that recently came out, the High Republic books.
Hmm.
I picked up one of them. You got two of them,
Hmm.
but I haven't started yet personally. But um, it's something I'm really excited to start because it's a time that we haven't really seen as far as like mainstream Star Wars goes.
Yeah,
Of
that's
course,
fair.
there was the Old Republic, the video game stuff, but I think it would be really beneficial to do a movie series on that. Um, and I can only hope Taika Waititi would jump into that, but who knows what he's going to do? It could be literally anything.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, the High Republic is like a series of books that range from adult novels to comic books to like children's ABC almost type books. And it all focuses around a time 200 years before the events of Phantom Menace, where like the Republic is supposed to be at its height, the Jedi are at their peak. I feel like it's basically what the Old Republic was before they rewrote all the canon,
Yeah.
minus the Sith. Like the Sith, I don't think are in the High Republic at all, which is a
Oh,
little
okay.
unfortunate because I mean, obviously, the Old Republic is like this huge war between thousands of Sith, thousands of Jedi.
Mhm.
But that's just like the direction that the books have gone in, and as I do think that they would definitely take the films in that direction because if you're building out like a new Star Wars universe, it's great for the mega fans to have everything be tied in and all like built together. And I think that there's actually a pretty decent level of I don't even know what the word would be, like Marvel comic book enthusiasm of like you can see something on the screen and then you can go on YouTube and there's already like a ton of backstory for all of these characters and there's
Right.
Easter eggs and there's like like oh you see a trailer and then you go to like Screen Crush or something and they're like this is what the trailer actually means and I feel like a lot of people do that even if they don't actually know what those comic books are about. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, it keeps the conversation going on the web.
Yeah. So like to have such a large backlog about like who are these characters in the new Star Wars trailer, it would work well. My big thing against it is that if you're writing, and granted, Taika Waititi is a smart man and he works like he's been proven to work inside a universe, right? With Thor Ragnarok. But
Yep.
a big thing for it is it's like if you're writing that, you're not actually writing that movie at all. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
when you enter a well-defined universe and you're borrowing other people's characters, you end up having to take a lot of direction from everyone else as to like what happens. Maybe not in Star Wars because obviously they let Ryan Johnson just completely fucking destroy Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let 'em run wild.
well, they let maybe they didn't destroy the character, but they let Ryan Johnson just fucking let Luke Skywalker say whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
Which was ballsy. So I don't know if they're going to do that again. But like, if it does get restrictive, it's like, do you want to write in that universe? Where the timeline is so hardly written and established.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I mean, like, the High Republic sounds cool. The main bad guy, or the main bad guys, are like bounty hunter pirates type deal from the Outer Rim.
Sure.
And the whole thing takes place on the Outer Rim. Like that's kind of just like what it is. It's on like the frontier before it was like settled. Because after it gets settled, that's when the huts are there and Tatooine and stuff.
Yeah.
If they could introduce like a Sith style enemy, because I think the biggest thing that Star Wars needs right now, and I know there's probably a lot of sequel people that wouldn't agree, is Star Wars just needs a good, like nice heavy prequel era lightsaber fight. Like it needs a duel of fate.
Yeah. That, and they just need like a solid villain, like a new fresh
True.
villain, something they're not rehashing.
Yeah,
Um,
I hate to go back to the like the main timeline, but if they did like a Thrawn movie, that'd be really fucking sick. But I
I agree.
know they won't because they
I
just
they just keep him in like the TV stuff, and it's like that's cool because I guess we all know it's canon, but like at the same time, he's really good. Like he's a really in-depth character. It's like
yeah,
why not?
Thrawn is a great. He's like an Imperial admiral for people that don't know. And
Yeah.
after the the Empire falls, he's still around for a while, kind of like leading the remnants. And he gets some play in Rebels. He's a really great character in Rebels. But the rumor is that he's going to be in like the Mandalorian verse or the Mandaverse or whatever the fuck
Right.
going forward. So that's why I don't think they would put him on the big screen. I think they would save him as like a great villain for all of those TV shows.
I think he's gonna be like an Ahsoka Tano type of villain
Yeah,
going forward.
yeah. But anyway, back to the High Republic. They need a lightsaber fight. Like the what's it
Yeah.
called? The sequel trilogy had no good lightsaber fights. I mean, some people really like the Kylo Ren and Rey team up fight against like the Imperial Guard. I thought that was kind of boring.
I wasn't
Uh,
impressed by any of the fights either.
no.
Even some people say the one in 9 on the Death Star was
Yeah,
good.
that's the only one that kind of stands out to me when they're fighting on like the giant Death Star outside, but it doesn't really hit the same.
No, it doesn't. It's not. It's, the intensity that they get out of like the prequels is what we all want.
Yeah.
Like that was like the highlight, or one of the biggest highlights of the prequels. So it's like, why not? Why can't we just get that and
Yeah.
have fun again?
They actually, I think the closest they get to it in the sequel trilogy is on Crate when Luke fights Kylo Ren like out in the sand field or the salt
Oh, for
field.
like that 1 second when he kind of like
Yeah.
does that like under swing thing,
Yeah,
whatever
he just starts like floating. It was pretty sick. He like does like a limbo underneath the lightsaber as it's like flying and like he's flying and like it was crazy. Uh, that whole scene
But it was only like
actually
2
really good.
seconds.
Yeah, it was only a couple seconds, but it was sick.
Was sick. It was a
That whole
cool movie.
scene was actually really good.
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. Like I just feel like it needs more like hardcore sword fighting action, and I feel like recently it's gotten very much away from the lightsaber fights and into like the big space battle stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're trying to shed more light on non-Jedi characters in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of show what kind of action they can give. Um,
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I think I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, Patty Jenkins is going to be making like a Rogue
Oh
Squadron movie,
yeah, I totally forgot about that.
which is
Jesus
like a
Christ.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
so
making
that's
like
gonna
a Top
be
Gun.
yeah, that's gonna be interesting, I guess. But at the same time, like the Star Wars fan base is we're thirsty for a good lightsaber fight,
Yeah,
in a way.
there's definitely the divide of like people who don't want lightsabers anymore and they just want to like explore the universe. But I'm here to tell you, with the hard truth, Star Wars without lightsabers ain't shit.
Yeah, it's not as interesting.
It's
I
just
agree.
another kind of. I mean, and granted, the Mandalorian's really good, right? But like the thing that makes Star Wars, I guess, and not just like another big like sci-fi thing. It's like the science fantasy, the mythic fantasy of Star Wars is the lightsabers and the Force and the Jedi.
Right.
Like, I mean, actually, you know what? For what it is, Mandalorian without the Force, like no one gives a fuck about Baby Yoda. Like that's it. Like the movie, it's just another like sci-fi. I mean, it's a cool sci-fi space cowboy thing, but like it's much less relevant to the or much less
Definitely.
interesting. I think.
Yeah. And like the most like craziest like I want to say like intense portions are like the dark saber shows up and it's like, oh
Oh,
my god, what's gonna
so
happen?
sick.
Or like when he gets like the Beskar spear, like even that was like way cooler. It's
Yeah.
like the hand-to-hand combat is like where it's all at.
Yeah, everyone likes a good hand-to-hand combat scene. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I think also a big thing for me going forward is they need to do two things, I think, and granted these aren't. I'm gonna hype like what's the word I'm gonna do? I'm gonna contradict myself a little bit. Rule like my first rule for going forward: no more trilogies. Like we're gonna stop because DC has this problem, right? Where DC is like, we're gonna make 6 movies and they're all interconnected, and then
Yeah.
like 3 in a row suck, and it's like, well, like they're not really that connected, and it's like, okay, well, like what's the point? You know what I mean? Like I don't need interconnected Star Wars stories. Like it's fine if we just make a movie that's a movie, like the Joker. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just in the universe. Maybe it's connected. Maybe it's in a different time period. Who cares? And it's good. Like it stands on its own, right?
Right.
Conversely, in direct opposition to that, once one of those does really great, like once you hit one and it's like, wow, like that was cool. Like
Mhm.
let's make a trilogy with this as the jumping off point, but that itself is like a standalone thing.
Yeah.
Then you stop everything. You get a dedicated team of writers, a dedicated director, and you just make all 3 of them. And you don't change the writing team, and you don't change the director, and you have a vision. And you don't make the trilogy until you wrote the whole fucking trilogy first.
You gotta stay consistent. That's
Yeah,
really what it's all
and
about.
like,
It's
because
just
that. Ugh.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, granted, I think Star Wars, other than the prequels, like they had different directors and teams on each movie and stuff through all of them.
The
Uh,
writers on the original ones were much more consistent, and also
right.
George Lucas was obviously like he knew what
He
he wanted.
oversaw everything.
Yeah,
He oversaw everything in all like the original stuff, the originals, the prequels,
yeah.
etc.
He had a
But
draft going in for 3 movies the whole time. Each time he
right.
did one.
So at least he acted as basically creative director the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be someone to do that. That's going to keep all the eggs in one basket and not try and pull too many people in. Like let's keep the team small. Let's all work together and just you know stick on the same path. Really.
Yeah, and I mean the problem with the like the sequel trilogy really is that they did not have a direct line. When they were writing The Force Awakens, like nobody knew what was going to happen in Episode 9. Nobody knew what was going to happen in Episode 8. They just walked
Nope.
away, and like that is a terrible way to design a trilogy because you're not going to have any cohesion, which is
Yep.
why 8
There is
feels
no
so
cohesion.
different, and then 9 is even more different.
Yeah.
Like, it's just terrible.
Yeah. It was just a mess from the beginning. But
Yeah.
I think I'm excited where the TV stuff is going. I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of it's a really diverse set of different shows, miniseries, whatever we want to call them. Um, and I think it's good that they're taking a step back on the movies a little bit. Even though Taika Waititi's got his one project, I think it's good that they're kind of like sitting back and saying, let's let this breathe. Let's see what who knows what Taika Waititi's going to announce for that
Hmm.
project. I'm sure we're going to find out more after the next Thor movie comes
Yeah.
out. Um, but you know, I, it's I think I'm just optimistic about the future because I feel like it can't be as disappointing as the sequels were to me, which is good in in the long run. Um,
Yeah, I
I want
agree.
High Republic, but like you said, let's get like a solid Sith villain in there. You know?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely got to add Bane somewhere. We got to get like a
Oh,
nice,
yeah.
bright red lightsaber. And we just got
Just give
to.
me anybody but Palpatine, please. It's really all
Ugh,
it is.
yeah.
It's really what it comes down to.
But yeah, I'm definitely excited. I think that a standalone direction is where the series should go. And we should just explore it and like not worry about starting trilogies and sagas and all that. Don't worry about a connected universe. Like just let Star Wars be Star Wars. And when you stumble upon something again, that's when you make a sequel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much my thoughts on the situation. Uh, did you have any other ideas as far as like different uh like groups or like factions to follow as far as like content wise?
Nah, no, I think that's it. I think we just got to go back to the Jedi and we got to give them like a very heavy Jedi focused film.
Back to the basics,
Yeah.
or at least prequel basics.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in this week for Cinema Scrutiny. Um, let us know what you guys think about Star Wars, like where you stand on it. Have you totally given up? Have you dropped Star Wars forever? Or are you patiently waiting for what's next? Uh, like the most of us, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely let us know in the comments. Um, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, send us an email. Let us know if you have any content ideas for us, or let us know about Star Wars. We just like hearing from you guys. We just like some feedback. It's nice to have,
Mm-hmm.
and we appreciate it always. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you next time on Cinema Scrutiny.
Have a good one, everyone.